everybody. How are you? Welcome back to 𝘀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗰𝗄. Welcome if you're joining us for the first day, for the first time, for the first minute. If you're just popping in for seconds, greatly appreciate you and your incredible support, as well as your great feedback about our impossible lives. I'm delighted to welcome you and invite you to pop in the chat. Let us know who you are. Let us know where you're from. Let us know maybe one way we can help you in between our lives. And if we haven't connected recently, this one's for you. Smiles across the miles with amazing iced coffee today. Very, very grateful. Today's topic is returns on opportunities and objectives. And one of the interesting things for many who we've been hanging out for a while, you've heard me call this 𝘂 before. And you heard me call it 𝘂 from the perspective of ROO is returns on opportunities and objectives. And it's something I've been playing with for a while, myself, in terms of networking and building relationships and collaborations, and in trying to help clients and collaborators who were trying to build communities, trying to build teams that they connected with, trying to generate referral partners. And we always talk about returns in terms of ways we measure them, like returns on investment. And I was a finance major way back when, so that'll always be the original ROI. But this 𝘂, when combined with the returns on energies and engagements that we spoke about previously, the two of them are kind of real prep tools into three things I'd love to share with you today. One of the things I'd love to share with you as we're framing why these returns are important to you and how really they can help you in terms of creating lasting relationships or higher, I'd say higher quality collaborations, is that these two together are part of what I call calls to connect. We always hear calls to action. We see it in commercials. Somebody's like, buy this now, follow me, ring my bell on LinkedIn to get updated, follow my hashtag, buy this. We always feel those in terms of calls to action. But I think the way to tie what's intangible, which is maybe some of our goals, our opportunities, our objectives, things we don't normally share, if you're able to tie them into the returns on energies and engagement, together they build what I call calls to connect. Those are a way to turn what others can't see, our intangibles, into something tangible, something we can kind of measure, something that has a way for us to measure its impact. So the first step, I would say, is really kind of tying that calls to connect as kind of a strategy piece. A good example is yesterday I was delighted to welcome guests, 180 probably guests, at an event, Fearless Hudson Valley, I'm on the board of. It's a really important cause to me. And I realized at the welcome table for the first time, I had not been at a live event with 200 people since the start of the pandemic. And as an introvert, the really comfortable place for me is the front desk, the front table. I knew there would be possibly 80 people minimum who I had not seen recently or connected with online at the event. So for me, my calls to connect started before the event. And I looked online at people who were RSVPing that we were connected with on Facebook. I could see people on LinkedIn that had responded to it. But at that welcome table, I had a list of people to check in. And the introvert, and in terms of returns on opportunities objectives for the organization I'm on the board of, and honestly, as a coach, as a person, I hadn't been out in ages. I, I checked out that entire list before the event started. So I'd love to encourage you as you're doing that. Think of what your calls to connect are with others. Richard Vanderbloom has an amazing algorithm report that he released recently. And I was looking at this amazing carousel he's got. He talks about CTT, which is kind of calls to touch, and CTF, calls to feel. Those might be some interesting things for us to explore later and you to add to your mix, especially if you're popping around on LinkedIn. The second part of preparing to increase your returns on opportunities, besides looking at the calls to connect part, I really think it's about extending the amount of time that you measure returns on opportunities and objectives. For seasoned businesses, extend the time period of measurement and double what you would use for returns on energies and engagement. And that's so you generate momentum and you're able to determine if it's something that you can duplicate. If you're a startup or a not-for-profit, your time period of measuring returns on opportunities and objectives is shorter. For example, you're hosting a gala or you're looking for a sponsor. You know pretty quickly whether you're sending it to a new potential person or a returning sponsor. You get an answer back quickly, or even if the answer is no answer. But extend that time period so that you have time to really look at the timetables, if it's something you can duplicate in the future, and really give it time to breathe so you can measure the transformation. The third part is something I was really resistant to in the beginning, and in the process of working with amazing clients, I'm delighted to say, gotten better at it. The third thing is aim high. So if you measure communities in which you participate, if you measure returns in communities in which you create or you initiate or you have a leadership role, aim high, elevate your blend, aim your sights higher, reach higher. A good example for that is somebody who I never met approached me recently about an amazing opportunity. We hadn't met, had to get interviewed, had a chance to sit down and kind of get to know each other to see whether we aligned or not. And I realized in the process of my discussions with them, I wasn't aiming high enough. So aim your sights high as you're looking at your opportunities and your objectives, because we have tunnel vision. We need to get out of that and kind of get out of our own way. So the first three were the calls to connect, the time period that you're measuring impact or transformations. And the third part of that was really the aim higher, to elevate your blend and really look at the communities in which we're operating. And the same could be if you're expanding into different marketplaces. But the communities part is kind of really the narrow focus. To really increase our returns on objectives and opportunities, I learned, just like I said before, we have missing pieces. wonderful woman who I had the pleasure of meeting for a few minutes when I popped into Hudson Community Incubator recently, just reached out, and I'm delighted. She reached out on LinkedIn. We're now connected. I had popped in before another meeting. I was there really quickly and didn't have a chance to really connect. She dropped her LinkedIn information in the chat. I dropped my information in the chat. It really helps if we, as a next step, really change our energy, change our frequency, change our vibes. We're in places sometimes where we're not necessarily comfortable. We're not necessarily in a leadership role. We're not necessarily volunteering. Like I was saying, being at the desk of Fearless, I'm on their board. It just means I'm in the program. It means nothing else. I had no active role. It really was behind the scenes. But change your energy. And if it's, as this wonderful woman who just reached out, she mentioned screen energy. I met somebody recently, a couple of months ago, amazing '𝘀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗰𝗄, who, if you haven't had a chance, '𝘀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗰𝗄 is amazing. One of my first degree contacts. And '𝘀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗃 I met as she was running an event, and her scream energy screamed out at me so much. I reached out as a way to increase your momentum, your impact, your influence. Change your energy, change your vibes. Amazing Teresa talked about this in one of our lives, about the energy that you bring. And something that I've started using to kind of create what I'm calling sustainable energy is mental fitness through positive intelligence. Ask me more about it later. Yes, I'm really excited about it. But mental fitness has helped me really refocus my energies, because they move us out of that saboteur kind of brain that we're in, and they move us towards sage powers. And the sage powers are activate, explore, empathy, innovate, and navigate. This helped me kind of locate energy from two perspectives. One was kind of addressing some of my blocks, and another one was helping me realize Mel did not have a lot of empathy for Mel. In the process of working with collaborators, I'm now learning that empathy part, that showing up as a human who cares and is responding to others, it really helps us surround ourselves with like amazing collaborators. A good example was yesterday. I had a chance to meet a wonderful woman who was a supporter. We were mutual clients, almost 20 years ago. And I saw her yesterday for the first time since the pandemic. And the energy, the vibes she brings, the incredible sense of showing up to support someone live, you really can feel it. If you can feel it online, investigate it. There's something there on the other side that really may help you leverage up what's happening with you. Raises your rhythm, raises your beat. It increases your collaborations, your relationships, your referral partners, the communities in which you participate in. Helps you build stronger teams, and it really helps you embrace the opportunities part. So your objectives, really, you can hit them out of the park. Another way would be responding to energy of potential leaders, potential coaches, potential mentors, potential team members the same way. It'll really help you notch your impact. Next one is awareness. Get help early from those you trust, just like that amazing woman who I had the pleasure of reconnecting with yesterday. Somebody I've known 20 years, and we haven't been able, because of helping our wonderful parents age in place, we haven't seen each other, to be able to speak in about 4 years. It really was so helpful and kind of anchors you a little bit. The awareness part reminded me to keep tapping into my intuition. Reminded me I was able to speak with somebody I trusted without any other sort of interruptions and just focus in. It reminds me of when people are suggesting to you that you pick like a micro niche or kind of a focus, like you're focusing your kaleidoscope or your heat rays or your lights. But really, as part of that awareness, the reminder, as you're trying to increase your returns on opportunities and objectives, get help early from those you trust. And the from those you trust is important. I had somebody recently who offered me help on a series of projects. I would have loved to have worked with this person. It's not the right time for a number of reasons. And in the process of their outreach, they're reaching out to a potential client who they don't know really well. I'm referring them to other people, but we don't know each other. And I realized in the process, as maybe we are having questions and you're working on new opportunities and you got more objectives and you're doing the aim high that I mentioned, that the from people you trust is critical. The last part of it has to do with gratitude. It's about narrowing and personalizing your focus. I'll go back to the Fearless Celebration of Hope brunch that we had yesterday. It was our inaugural brunch. And as part of the gratitude, I saw somebody there who I hadn't seen maybe 5, almost 6 years. The person was memorable, and I never really had a chance to get to know them. And I've been seeing them involved with other organizations that I've taken a break from for different reasons as we're supporting our family aging in place. And I'm watching this amazing young man with great energy really focus his light. And I had a chance to see him yesterday, and I was so excited because I had a chance to reach out. He saw me and I mentioned his name, and he just turned like, "Hey, who are you?" I had to remind him where we had met. And he really reminded me, he's like, "Oh, give me a ring." And I didn't have my glasses on. And I was like, "Can you please enter your name in my phone and I will call you shortly?" And I laughed after he did this. I put a bookmark in my calendar to follow up and call him tomorrow. But it really reminded me in the process, this is somebody I would have said thank you to for his example of how you show up in a new organization with the sustainable energy I met. He's had it from the beginning, from the second I met him. I knew he had a really clear vision, and he was an entrepreneur, and he was leading a team, and he was looking for new ways to reach people. But underneath the gratitude, it's really a reminder to narrow our focus and personalize it. Yesterday, I was able to do it by saying someone's name. And I didn't say his voice loudly. I didn't say it in a really loud voice. And he just turned like, "Wow, who's this? It's got a unique name. It's not Bob or Ted, or George. But it's a unique name." He's like, "Who is this saying my voice?" And if I could encourage you just in terms of pursuing opportunities and objectives, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for a team or you're doing it for a not-for-profit that you love to help, is to just slow it down. To recap, think of your calls to connect. Turn your intangibles into your tangible. Add your returns on energies and engagement in there. Extend the time period of which you're measuring the impact and the transformations. Allow some space for it. And for returns on opportunities and objectives, twice as long as for returns on energies and engagement. And we talked before about that. It differs at what stage in the business you're at how long you've been in an organization. If you're a cultivator going through the soil, nourishing, it can really take longer. But when that tree or sprout pops up, it can be so rewarding. The third part of that was elevate your blend. And I'd love to invite you, as you're exploring these and as you're trying to increase your returns, whether it's on energies and engagement, whether it's on opportunities and objectives, whether you're just trying to increase your influence, your impact, and your revenue, just reach out and let's keep staying in touch. And to those who I have not spoken with recently, wishing you very safe, peaceful steps as you're stepping out live and as you're stepping out virtually onto bigger stages. Have a magnificent day and take great care. And thanks again for popping into I'm Possible Live and for joining me today. Greatly appreciate you. Take great care. Stay well, stay safe, stay inspired, and please stay in touch.